Welcome back to Montana this morning. I'm here with U.S. Senator Steve Daines. Good morning.
Good morning, Kent.
And thanks for joining us here.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, okay, so let's get right into it. We don't have much time with our senator. First, I got to ask, what is your thoughts on Governor Bullock running in 2020? I got to know.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, he's been spending a lot of time in Iowa. He's out there a lot. But just to be clear, I'll be supporting President Trump in the election.
I figured that would be your answer.
Yeah.
There's got to be, there's so many people up for that Democratic primary spot. Is there, kind of a strategy moving forward with the Republican Party on that sense?
Well, I think you're seeing Republicans united behind President Trump. And so it's kind of the opposite of what happened in the last election cycle, where there were a lot of Republicans running the primary, and it was just Hillary Clinton, right?
Yes.
And Biden and so forth. So I think the Republicans are united behind President Trump. They're pleased with this booming economy. They like where he's taking this country, the direction it's headed here. So you've got a lot of unity behind the president.
All right, and I wanted to move on to what was going on in the Senate the last few days. Yesterday, you guys passed an anti-robocall bill. And I mean, I looked at some stats. The New York Times said 48 billion robocalls just last year.
Oh, it is out of control. As Montanans, we feel violated. I mean, you've got your phone, and the problem we have is these robocallers, these illegal robocallers, are getting more sophisticated. You'll see 406 area codes coming in. You think it's somebody that you know, and you find out some illegal robocaller telling you you've got a problem with the IRS or loans and so forth. So the good news is, yesterday we passed a bill 97-1.
Wow.
In the United States Senate that puts a $10,000 fine per illegal call, as well as gives the FCC a lot more authority to stop these illegal robocalls.
So what does that mean for like the average person like me, like that might get some of those calls?
Well, what it means is, first of all, it's got to get passed in the House. So it's going to go over to the House now and then signed by the President. But what we want to see is just reducing these illegal robocalls, bottom line. It is an invasion, I think, of our privacy. It is a hassle. Then you stop answering your phone, right? Because you don't know who's calling you anymore, and that's just wrong.
Yeah. All right, speaking of laws, current events, Alabama passed one of the strictest anti-abortion laws recently, basically eliminating any type of choice for female when it comes to abortion, whether that's even incest or rape. And a lot of Republicans recently have actually kind of moved away from this as well. I just kind of wanted to touch base on how you feel about
Sure.
that.
I've always been very consistent on this important issue. I will always fight to protect the life of unborn babies. And the challenge we face is it's a divisive issue in our country. But I hope we could come together on the issue of late-term abortions. That's where Americans and Montanans support bans on late-term abortions. What do you do when your baby is 7 months old, 8 months old? We should be protecting that life. In fact, recently the Montana legislature passed a bill that protected the lives of babies that were born after a botched abortion attempt, and yet the governor vetoed it. That's ground that we can come together and agree on, but I will always stand to protect the most vulnerable in our society. It's unborn babies, it's the disabled, it's the elderly.
All right, and I wanted to, current events as well, Memorial Day, just around the corner. You said your father was a veteran?
Yeah, my dad went to school here in Missoula. He's a United States Marine. He'll be turning 80 in June. So I'm always honored anytime there's an event related to the U.S. military. But this is a day to remember those who have fallen, who have paid the ultimate sacrifice. I'll be in Kalispell later today talking with a group that's called Shining Honor. These are developmentally disabled adults who are being very patriotic, cleaning up the gravestones of those who have fallen.
Yeah. And then kind of moving forward, what are some of the big, next big ticket items, I guess, bucket list items that you're going to be focusing on moving into 2020?
Yeah, well, we keep working on important issues like forest management reforms. Montanans are also tired of breathing the smoke in July and August. We bring our friends and family out to Montana to visit us. We have to show them sometimes pictures of the mountains because we can't see them. We're tired of that. We can do much better managing our forests. When I was growing up, Kent, in Montana, we had 30 active sawmills. Today we only have 8. I'm heading up to Libby later on today as well. That's the home of the Libby loggers, Lincoln County. There's not a single sawmill left in Lincoln County. That is wrong, and if we don't manage our forests, they're going to manage us.
Now, a lot of people would argue that logging in that form is kind of old-fashioned. What would you say to that?
Boy, I'll tell you, it's not old-fashioned. We work with groups like the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. I'm an avid hunter, love the outdoors. Talk to the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. They'll tell you if we want to protect wildlife habitat, like for elk, you've got to thin your forest. It's just common sense thinning practice today. You know, gone are the days of the wars back in the 70s and 80s on timber wars, clear cuts. We're talking about thinning projects. It reduces the risk of wildfire, improves wildlife habitat, protects our watersheds, protects our air, protects the amount of CO2 emissions you see from a wildfire. This is a win for everybody. And lastly, it provides more logs to our sawmills, providing jobs for Montanans who need these kind of opportunities.
And then you're up for re-election in 2020, correct?
Yeah, I am.
All right. So is there anything in the near future you're going to be out talking to voters on, and any issues?
You know, I get to every Montana county every 2 years. In fact, I get to all 56. I think I'm on my 5th time I've done this. And one thing, even though I grew up in Montana, I have deep Montana roots, you get to know a lot about your state by spending time with Montanans in every corner of our state, from Libby to Westby, down to Alzada, over to Monida, and everywhere in between. And that's the best part of this job.
Yeah, I imagine. That's great. All right, well, thank you for joining us this morning. We don't get much time, but I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me on, Kent.
All right,
Appreciate it.
we'll be right back after this break.